Sharing 10 with Deputy Barry. Just want to return to the Debenhams workers, because I have seen the correspondence between yourself and mandators. I'm sure many of us have. And I'd like you to pick up from their last letter, where they talk about in 2007 the legislation was amended, but no legislator sought to amend that particular aspect about the responsibility on the liquidator. They also reference a European Court of Justice ruling which ruled that the obligation to engage still applies even where a company has been wound up by the court, and that obligation in this case evolves to the liquidator. Now, I just want to say quickly, I think the liquidator in this question has even more responsibility and more obligation. KPMG, who is the liquidator, is in receipt of lucrative government contracts. They got over 25 million for advice on the broadband scheme, and look where that left us. And consistently they receive millions from all departments across this House. So it is not acceptable for them to walk away from their responsibility, and I'd like you to comment on that and do your best, given the level of sympathy and admiration you have for the workers, to pursue this with vigour and with urgency, because there's more workers like them coming after them. It's very, very important. My second question is on maternity leave, and it's not to bang on about the shocking injustice and discrimination that was imposed on people on maternity leave through the denial of the wage subsidy scheme, but rather to ask you, would you consider extending maternity leave and benefit for all those who are currently on it, in the same way that we've extended the time for planning applications, we've suspended aspects of legislation such as the Redundancy Act, and we've made exceptions in lots of areas of legislation and applications of the state's rules. So I'm asking you, on behalf of those tens of thousands of women who've signed the petition online, that are fearful of going back to work, being forced back, they don't get the wage subsidy scheme, they leave their babies behind, there's no childcare out there, extend maternity leave and benefit for the duration, the same as we're extending the courtesy to other areas of society. And my final question to you is on direct provision. Why, please explain, and please explain in some detail if you can, the pandemic unemployment payment has been denied to workers who lost their jobs through this crisis, in the same way as many others did, tens of thousands, millions others did, and haven't been able to carry out any economic activity. There's over 1,200 residents of direct provision who actually work, and 400 or 500 of them are in our health services. Obviously this doesn't apply to them, but the pandemic unemployment payment on your website, it says, is available to all employees and the self-employed who've lost their employment due to a downturn in economic activity caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, except, and you don't say that on the website, except those in direct provision. Why are we always making an exception of the residents of our direct provision service, and making an exception that shows that the history of this state is an abuse of those who live in that service? We saw much of it today with the Minister for Justice and his apologies and lack of same. I know the statement says that their accommodation and basic needs are covered, but if somebody has a job, they may have invested in a car, may have sent their children to certain schools, invested in certain loans and stuff, and now they are being denied reduction of $311 a week. They get the direct provision payment, but they don't get the pandemic unemployment payment. Please explain.
Thank you. Deputy, can I just ask you your question on Debenhams? You're asking me to comment on the letters between myself and mandate, or was it something else?
I'm asking you well, you can do it in writing because it'll take up too much time, but there is a legal thing in that letter that they've sent you about a European Court of Justice case, and to expand on that, because the onus is still on KPMG.
Okay, so just to let you know, I replied to them this afternoon, and I'll get you a copy of that letter, and that'll tell you. Okay.